In 1817, on the quiet Tennessee frontier, a family's life was about to be torn apart by something they couldn't see. Now, this wasn't just a story of bumps in the night. This was a 4-year assault by an entity that, according to legend, could speak, physically attack people, and even predict the future. But what really sets this story apart, what makes it one of the most terrifying tales in American history, is how it ends. This is the legend of the Bell Witch, a story that concludes with what has been called the only death in the nation's folklore directly claimed by a spirit. Most historians today will tell you the tale is a masterful piece of American folklore, a legend born on the frontier, but for the family that lived it, and the community that witnessed it, the terror was all too real. To really get the horror that unfolded, you have to know the family it happened to. John Bell was a successful, respected farmer who, back in 1804, had moved his wife Lucy and their kids from North Carolina to a sprawling 320-acre farm in Robertson County, Tennessee. They were just a normal, hard-working, church-going family, carving out a life for themselves in the rough world of the American frontier. For 13 years, everything was peaceful. Their kids grew up, their farm was successful, and they were pillars of their community. They had no idea their family name was about to become famous, not for farming or faith, but for a haunting so violent and intelligent, it would eventually draw attention from all over the country. It all started small, the way these things often do. In late 1817, John Bell was out in his cornfield when he saw something that stopped him cold. It was a bizarre creature with the body of a dog and the head of a rabbit. Bell, a practical man, raised his gun and fired. The creature just vanished. He was shaken but tried to brush it off as a trick of the light and went home. But the strangeness was just getting started. That night, after the family went to bed, a new sound began. A relentless, rhythmic knocking on the outside walls of their log cabin. Night after night, the sounds came back, getting louder and more aggressive. Soon they were joined by the sounds of scratching, gnawing, and chains being dragged across the floors. The family looked for any rational explanation, an animal, a local prankster, but found nothing. The sounds were coming from everywhere at once, an invisible torment that was destroying their sense of safety in their own home. Whatever was outside, it didn't stay there for long. The strange noises moved inside the house, and they brought a terrifying physical presence with them. The kids would be in bed, only to have their blankets violently ripped away in the middle of the night. An invisible force would pull their hair, slap their faces, and leave red welts and handprints on their skin. While the whole family was a target, the entity's cruelty seemed to focus on two people, John Bell himself and his youngest daughter, Betsy. Betsy, especially, seemed to get the worst of it. She was slapped, pinched, and scratched relentlessly. Some nights she was reportedly dragged out of her bed by an unseen force. The family was helpless. They couldn't see or fight the attacker that was tormenting their daughter. Then the haunting took a much more terrifying turn. The entity started to speak. At first it was just a faint wheezing whisper, like someone struggling to breathe. But over time it got stronger until its voice was loud and clear. It was a woman's voice, and it seemed to love the fear it created. It would sing hymns, quote scripture from 2 different sermons being delivered miles apart at the exact same time, get into intelligent conversations, and predict future events. It seemed to know things it couldn't possibly know, revealing secrets about visitors that sent them running. One story tells of a skeptical Englishman who came to investigate. The entity began speaking to him, perfectly mimicking the voices of his parents all the way back in England, and repeating their private conversations. The man reportedly fled in terror the next morning. Eventually, the entity gave itself a name. It claimed to be the witch of a local woman, Kate Batts, who'd had a business dispute with John Bell. From then on, everyone started calling the spirit Kate, and the name stuck. Kate wasn't some simple ghost. She was intelligent, manipulative, and incredibly cruel. She could apparently be in multiple places at once, her voice echoing through different rooms at the same time. But she also had strange moments of kindness, especially towards John's wife, Lucy, who the entity called the most perfect woman on earth. It would sing to Lucy and even leave her fresh fruit. But this kindness only made its hatred for John and Betsy feel even more personal and terrifying. Word of the haunting started to spread. It was too loud, too weird, and too persistent to keep quiet. John Bell finally told his best friend, James Johnston, who agreed to spend a night at the farm. That night, Johnston had his bed covers pulled off and was even slapped. Convinced the Bells were being tormented by an evil spirit, he told them to share their story with the whole community. Soon, news of the Bell Witch was everywhere. People traveled from hundreds of miles away, turning the Bell home into a terrifying, unlikely tourist attraction. Kate seemed to love having an audience, putting on shows for visitors, answering their questions, and mocking anyone who didn't believe. According to the legend, the most famous visitor was none other than General Andrew Jackson, a war hero and future president. The story goes that Jackson and his men showed up at the Bell farm, ready to deal with this witch. As they got close to the property, their wagon suddenly stopped, completely stuck as if held by an invisible force. After trying everything to get it moving, a disembodied voice supposedly called out from the trees, "All right, General, let the wagon move on. I will see you again tonight." The wagon was instantly freed. Later that night, Jackson's men were reportedly so terrorized by Kate that they begged to leave. Jackson himself was shaken, and folklore quotes him as saying, "I had rather face the entire British army than to spend another night with the Bell Witch." Now, as famous as that story is, it's worth pointing out that historians have never found a single official record or journal entry from Andrew Jackson to prove he was ever there. Through it all, the entity's main focus never changed. It tormented Betsy constantly, especially when her fiancé, a local man named Joshua Gardner, was around. The attacks on her got worse whenever he visited, a clear campaign to end their relationship. But Kate saved her deepest hatred for the head of the family, John Bell. She called him Old Jack, and swore over and over that she was there for one reason: to kill him. What do you think was really happening in that house? Was it a vengeful spirit, a complex hoax, or something else entirely? Let me know your theories in the comments below. By 1820, 3 years into the haunting, John Bell's health was failing. He started suffering from strange symptoms like his tongue swelling, making it hard to swallow or speak. His condition got worse, and he began having violent seizures. Throughout his agonizing decline, Kate the Witch gloated, her voice often heard laughing at his pain and reminding him of her promise to end his life. On the morning of December 19, 1820, John Bell fell into a stupor and couldn't be woken up. The next morning, December 20th, the family found him dead. His death was tragic, but what the family found next is what turned this story from sad to horrifying. In the medicine cupboard, they found a small vial with a strange, dark liquid that nobody recognized. Suspicious and terrified, John Bell Jr. reportedly gave a drop of the liquid to the farm's cat. The animal died almost instantly. As the family stood there in horror, Kate's triumphant voice boomed through the room. "I gave old Jack a big dose of that last night, and that fixed him." In a panic, the family threw the vial into the fireplace, where it burst into a bright, unnatural flame. John Bell's funeral was a huge event, attended by friends and neighbors from all over. But according to the legend, the mourning was grotesquely interrupted. As the family grieved, Kate's voice could be heard loudly singing crude drinking songs, celebrating her victory. Though most historians today agree that John Bell likely died from a neurological disorder, the legend of his death is what makes this story so famous. No official document from that time blames a spirit for his death. That kind of classification didn't exist. But in American folklore, the story of John Bell's death remains the only widely known case where a spirit not only claimed responsibility for killing a human, but also provided the alleged murder weapon. After John Bell's death, the haunting started to fade. The entity had done what it came to do. It continued to torment Betsy Bell until she finally broke off her engagement to Joshua Gardner, just as the witch had demanded. Then, in 1821, Kate told the family she was leaving, but she made a chilling promise. She would be back in 7 years. True to her word, some accounts say the entity did return briefly in 1828, having long philosophical conversations with John Bell Jr. before leaving again. This time it promised to return once more in 107 years in 1935. Whether anything happened in 1935 is anyone's guess, but the legend of the Bell Witch was far from over. Today the Bell Farm is gone, and the original cabin was torn down long ago. But one part of the property remains, the Bell Witch Cave. Though the cave played only a minor role in the original 19th century accounts, it has since become the focal point of the legend. It's now a popular spot for tourists and paranormal investigators, many of whom claim to experience strange things to this day. People report hearing disembodied voices, seeing strange lights, and feeling a heavy oppressive presence inside its walls. So, what really happened in that little log cabin in Tennessee 2 centuries ago? Of course, there are skeptical explanations. Some believe it was all an elaborate hoax run by Betsy Bell, maybe using ventriloquism to get out of an engagement she didn't want. Others suggest John Bell was suffering from a neurological condition, and the haunting was just a case of mass hysteria gripping a superstitious community. There's also a theory that he was slowly poisoned by a person, and the Bell Witch story was the perfect cover. And yet those explanations have never quite managed to explain away the sheer number of independent witnesses who claimed they experienced it all firsthand. Friends, neighbors, and total strangers all reported hearing the voice and seeing the physical attacks. They were convinced that what they were seeing was real. The Bell Witch haunting is a giant of American folklore. It's a story that blurs the lines between history and legend, a campfire tale and a documented nightmare. It's a terrifying story about an intelligent, evil entity that didn't just rattle chains or move furniture. It talked, it manipulated, and according to its own bragging, it murdered. Whether you believe it was a spirit, a hoax, or a product of its time, the story of the Bell Witch remains one of the most compelling and disturbing paranormal cases in American history. A chilling reminder that sometimes the greatest horrors are the ones we can't see. This story has been passed down for over 200 years, and it's just one of countless chilling accounts from around the world. If you want to dive into more terrifying true stories and unsolved paranormal mysteries, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next investigation into the unknown.